Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
I've been thinking about social work lately, and it's got me wondering, do we ever really consider the financial side of it? Not just for the clients, but for the social workers themselves.
It's a valid question, and honestly, it's one that doesn't get enough attention.
Yeah.
We often talk about social work as focusing on compassion and empathy,
Mm.
but the reality is it's a profession, and finances play a huge role.
Exactly. It's like we've created this narrative that social workers shouldn't expect to be financially secure, almost like it's a badge of honor to struggle financially.
And that's a problem because it not only undervalues the essential work that social workers do,
Yeah.
but also creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that prevents them from advocating for their own financial well-being and that of their clients.
It's a vicious cycle. I recently came across some materials that really opened my eyes to this issue. They talked about the hidden costs of social work, and not just the emotional toll, but the actual financial strain it puts on those in the profession. Think about it. Student loan debt, lower salaries compared to other professions requiring similar levels of education, and the constant pressure to do more with less. It's a recipe for financial stress.
You know what's crazy? The materials pointed out that this financial burden isn't evenly distributed. Social workers who are older women, people of color, or uninsured often face even greater financial challenges.
It's a reflection of the systemic inequalities that social workers are working tirelessly to address. It's almost like the system is working against itself.
Right, it's heartbreaking and frustrating. But there was also a glimmer of hope in the materials I was looking at. Have you ever heard of financial social work?
Absolutely. It's a fascinating and relatively new field that's gaining a lot of traction. What's really intriguing about it is the focus on the behavioral aspect of finances, the thoughts, feelings, and experiences that drive our financial decisions.
That's what caught my attention too. One quote that stuck with me was, "Money is complicated, life is complicated, and together they can feel overwhelming." It's like, yes, that's exactly how it feels sometimes.
It's so relatable, right? And that's the beauty of financial social work. It acknowledges the emotional complexity of our relationship with money and provides tools to help us navigate those feelings.
So it's not just about budgeting or investing.
Exactly. It's about understanding why we make the financial choices we do. It's about recognizing that our money mindset is shaped by a whole bunch of factors: our upbringing, our culture, even larger forces like the economy and social justice movements.
So it's like this giant interconnected web of influences that all come together to shape our relationship with money. No wonder it feels so overwhelming sometimes.
And that's precisely why financial social work is so important. It helps us untangle that web and provides a framework for understanding and addressing financial issues in a more holistic and empathetic way.
Okay, so this is all fascinating, but how does it actually play out in the real world? How can social workers use this approach to help their clients?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive. Get ready for some concrete tips and strategies.
Sounds good to me.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we went to, we're talking about financial social work and how it shifts the conversation around finances from purely numbers-driven to one that considers the emotional and psychological factors at play.
Right, and I'm really curious to dig into the practical side of things. How can social workers actually integrate this approach into their work with clients? What does it look like in action?
Well, one of the most powerful things social workers can do is help clients connect their financial choices to their values and priorities.
That sounds pretty abstract. Could you give me a concrete example?
Absolutely. Imagine a client who deeply values family time but constantly feels stressed about money. By exploring what's truly important to them, they might realize they're willing to cut back on things like eating out or entertainment expenses so they can afford a family vacation.
So it's not about telling them what to do, but helping them align their spending with their values. I like that. It feels empowering rather than restrictive.
Exactly. Financial well-being isn't about deprivation. It's about feeling secure, in control, and making choices that support what matters most to you.
The materials I was reading also stressed the importance of reducing shame around finances. It feels like such a taboo topic, even with a social worker. How can we create a safe space for clients to open up about their financial struggles?
It starts with us, the social workers. We need to be mindful of our own biases and judgments around money and approach these conversations with empathy and non-judgment. Active listening is key. Make it clear that you're there to support them, not to judge their choices.
So it's about creating that sense of trust and understanding, letting them know it's okay to be vulnerable.
Right. We're all human and we all make financial mistakes. It's about normalizing those experiences and helping clients see that they're not alone in their struggles.
One of the biggest aha moments for me was realizing that financial well-being is about so much more than just managing money. It's deeply intertwined with mental health.
That's such a crucial point. Financial stress can be incredibly taxing on our mental and emotional well-being. It can lead to anxiety, sleeplessness, strained relationships, and even depression.
It's like a domino effect. Financial problems can trigger a cascade of other issues that impact every aspect of a person's life.
And that's why it's so important for social workers to be trauma-informed in their approach to financial issues. We need to understand how past experiences with poverty, abuse, or neglect can impact a person's relationship with money and create deep-seated financial trauma.
Trauma-informed care in the context of finances. That's a really interesting concept. Can you explain that a bit more?
Of course, it's about recognizing that financial trauma is a real thing. For example, someone who grew up in poverty might constantly fear scarcity even if they're financially stable as adults. Someone who experienced financial abuse might struggle with trusting others with money.
So it's not just about teaching budgeting skills, but addressing those underlying emotional wounds that can sabotage financial well-being.
Exactly. It's about helping clients understand their triggers, develop healthy coping mechanisms, and ultimately reclaim their financial power.
It sounds like financial social work is really about shifting the power dynamic. Instead of viewing clients as helpless victims of their circumstances, it's about empowering them to take control of their financial lives.
Precisely. It's about fostering agency and resilience.
This all makes so much sense. But let's be honest, social workers themselves often struggle financially. How can we expect them to effectively support their clients if they're grappling with their own financial anxieties?
That's the elephant in the room, isn't it? It's a huge issue, and it needs to be addressed head-on. We can't keep perpetuating this narrative that social work is all about sacrifice and selflessness while ignoring the very real financial challenges that those in the profession face.
It's like we're saying it's okay for social workers to burn out, both emotionally and financially.
And that's not sustainable. We need to start valuing social work as the essential profession it is. That means advocating for better pay, better working conditions, and a shift in the cultural narrative that devalues this vital work.
Okay, so we need to address these issues on both the individual and systemic levels. But where do we even begin? It can feel overwhelming.
That's a valid feeling, but the good news is that there are already initiatives in place making a real difference. And we'll dive into those along with some concrete actions we can all take to advocate for change in the final part of our deep dive.
That's what I like to hear. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It's been quite a journey unpacking the financial side of social work, both for the professionals themselves and the clients they serve.
It has been. We've explored the challenges, delved into the psychology of finances, and now it's time to turn our attention to solutions.
Right. In the last segment, you hinted at some exciting initiatives already in place. I'm eager to hear more about those and how we can all contribute to positive change.
Well, one initiative that's really impressive is the Illinois Loan Repayment Program for social workers. It caught my eye because student debt is a massive burden on so many social workers.
Oh, yes. I remember reading about that. It sounds like a real game changer for attracting and retaining talented individuals in the field. But refresh my memory. How does it work exactly?
It's actually quite straightforward. The program provides financial assistance to help social workers in Illinois repay their student loans, which encourages them to stay in the profession and serve the community.
That's brilliant. I mean, it tackles the financial strain head-on and benefits everyone involved. Social workers get relief from crippling debt, and communities gain dedicated professionals. But what about those of us not in Illinois? Can this type of program be replicated elsewhere?
Absolutely. In fact, that's the beauty of it. It serves as a model for other states to follow. By raising awareness and advocating for similar programs across the country, we can create a real shift in how we support social workers.
It's a tangible solution that we can all get behind. What else can we do to make social work more financially sustainable, both for individuals and the profession as a whole?
Supporting paid internships for social work students is another crucial step. Unpaid internships are a major barrier to entry for so many, especially those from low-income backgrounds.
It's a systemic issue that perpetuates inequality within the field, right?
Yeah.
Like you can only dedicate yourself to this work if you have the financial privilege to work for free.
Exactly. Paid internships not only make the field more accessible, but also send a strong message that this work is valuable and deserves to be compensated.
So how can we push for that change? It feels like a big systemic problem.
It is. But remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect. We can start by supporting organizations that offer paid internships, encouraging our universities and field placement sites to prioritize them, and speaking up about the issue within our professional circles.
It's about shining a light on this inequity and making sure it's part of the conversation.
I think this all boils down to one key takeaway. We need to shift the narrative around social work.
I like where you're going with this. Expand on that.
For too long, social work has been framed as a calling that requires immense personal sacrifice, often at the expense of financial well-being. But this mindset is ultimately harmful both to individuals and the profession itself.
We're doing a disservice to the very people we aim to help if we don't address this right. It undermines the whole system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to recognize social work for what it is, a skilled, demanding profession that requires expertise, dedication, and deserves a fair compensation. It's time to champion the financial well-being of social workers as a vital component of a healthy and effective social service ecosystem.
It's about valuing social workers and the crucial role they play in building a more just and equitable society. That's a message we need to shout from the rooftops.
Couldn't agree more. So, to our listeners, I want to leave you with this. Never underestimate the power of your voice and your actions. Whether it's advocating for policy changes, supporting paid internships, or simply having open conversations about the financial realities of social work, every step we take brings us closer to a more sustainable and equitable future for the profession and those it serves.
What a powerful note to end on. It's been an eye-opening deep dive, to say the least. Thanks for joining us.
It has. And remember, the journey doesn't end here.